NHL Regular Season Recap Night 48. This one's going to be a little bit rapid fire for me just because it's already getting a little bit late, and just full transparency, I did not get to watch much of any of these games. But we'll get things started with the Florida Panthers taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs and what ended up being a pretty wild ending to this game. In regulation, Kevin Stenlund and Noah Gregor are the only two goal scorers. We go all the way to a shootout where it looks like Evan Rodriguez has scored the game winner, but they go to review it after the Panthers have celebrated, the Leafs have left the ice, all that good jazz. It's determined that the puck was touched twice by Rodriguez after his shot attempt, or I guess there was a shot attempt. Then he touched it a second time, not intentionally, right off the pad of Joseph Woll, but nonetheless, you can't do that, so everyone gets dragged back out. Noah Gregor scores for the Leafs, and then Nick Cousins does not score for the Panthers, so the Leafs end up winning this one in pretty bizarre fashion, but nonetheless a good game from both goalies, Anthony Stolarz and Joseph Woll, with good showings here. A 2-1 shootout final for the Leafs. Game 2, the New York Islanders taking on the New Jersey Devils, and this one looked to be all wrapped up in favor of the Islanders after 2 periods. It was 4-2. Frankly, they were just outplaying the Devils, but the Devils said not so fast, scored 3 unanswered in the third, including 1 in the last 25 seconds of the game, which would end up being the eventual game winner from Curtis Lazar. It's a 5-4 final here. Sorokin, not great in this one, stopping 28 of 33, while Akira Schmid comes in relief, stopping 8 of 8 after Vitek gives up 4 goals of his own. It's a, once again, 5-4 final in favor of the Islanders. The Hurricanes visiting Philadelphia and looking to maintain their number 2 seed in the Metropolitan Division. They are able to do just that tonight by the strength of a 4-1 win over Philly. Michael Bunting, Brendan Lemieux, Seth Jarvis, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi with the 4 goals for Carolina. Travis Konechny with the lone goal for Philly. Pyotr Kochetkov was pretty good in this one. He stops 28 of 29. Carter Hart had kind of a shaky game, but nonetheless, a strong showing for Carolina, who needed to string together a couple wins in a row. Philadelphia, meanwhile, starting to slide just a little bit. Once again, they tend to be on this wave of couple wins, couple losses. They're back on the couple loss train, so we'll see if they can rebound in the next game, but nonetheless, a strong 4-1 showing for Carolina. The Penguins visiting the Predators, and this was another big win for the Preds, who now win their 6th in a row off the strength of a Philip Forsberg overtime game winner. It's a 3-2 final for the Preds. 2 goals in the first period by Michael McCarron, as well as a fight for the big man. It's a great showing from him. In the second period, Evgeny Malkin cuts the lead in half, and in the third, Brian Rust ties it. But once again, the Philip Forsberg goal is the overtime winner. A great effort on this one by Ryan O'Reilly just to stay on sides. Penguins fans probably want an interference call on this one, but I don't think you're ever going to get it there. He's just trying to stay on side. Holds his ground, really Crosby running into him more than anything else. Tristan Jarry was good in this one. The stats kind of don't do him justice. He stops 23 of 26. UC Saros, fantastic, stopping 29 of 31. He strung together a few good games in a row, which is really important for the Preds if they're going to find success long-term here. But yeah, good 3-2 overtime win for the Preds. The St. Louis Blues visiting Minnesota in the Minnesota coaching debut of John Hynes. Is anyone really surprised that Minnesota ended up winning this game? I mean, new coach's first game. This is always the way this goes, right? Goals for the Wild from Joel Eriksson, Freddie Gaudreau, and Matt Boldy, just his 2nd of the year, so good to see him get on the sheet here. For the Blues, Colton Parayko with the lone goal. Good as well to see Philip Gustafsson have a pretty strong game. He stops 24 of 25. Binner continues his strong play, stopping 34 of 37, but just not enough help from his cast of forwards and defensemen to get this one knotted back up. We'll see if the Wild can keep this going long-term. Again, this tends to be a thing where coaches come in, they win their first, 2, 3, 4 games, and then eventually things start to taper back off. So we'll see if John Hynes can continue this positive momentum for the Wild. They are a team that desperately needs it, very similar to the Oilers in the Pacific Division. But nonetheless, for tonight, it's a 3-1 win for Minnesota. The Stars visiting the Jets in a game that had all the potential to be an absolute banger. And for those of you that, like me, love a good goalie battle, it was absolutely that. I really wish I got to tune into any of this game, but just being completely honest, I didn't get to watch a second of it, which was a big bummer for me. But the Stars win this one 2-0. Goals from Joe Pavelski and Tyler Seguin. Jake Ottinger with a shutout. He stops all 27 Jet shots, while Connor Hellebuck stops 19 of 21. Not really a ton of shots going either way here, but obviously, if there's a total of 2 goals scored in the game, the goalies were pretty good, and that's kind of what you expect from guys like Connor Hellebuck and Jake Ottinger. Would love to see this in the playoffs. If we could get 7 games of this, that would be fantastic. not really too much else to say about this game. Not a high-event game, but nonetheless a very big one for the Stars, who continue to try to climb back up to the Avs at the top of this Central Division. The Kraken visiting the Blackhawks in what had to be at least a somewhat emotional game for this Blackhawks team, given the events over the last week or so and the press conference today from Kyle Davidson. But they get the job done in this one. It ends up being a 4-3 final. 4 goals in the first here. Boris Katchouk, Jason Dickinson, Matty Beniers, and Alex Wenberg. In the second, the Hawks regain their 2-goal lead with goals from Tyler Johnson and Mackenzie Entwistle. Ty Cartier makes it a 1-goal game about 7 minutes into the third, and the Hawks do a lot to make it interesting, including going down 5-on-3 with about 6 minutes to play, but they hold strong. Peter Mrazek is very good in this one, stopping 33 of 36 in the victory. Grubauer, on the other hand, stopping just 19 of 23. He continues to struggle, as well as the rest of this Kraken team, who, like I said before the season, is just not looking like a playoff team. The Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Edmonton Oilers in a rematch of last year's second-round playoff matchup. This was another one of the games tonight that I really wish I could have watched more of, because I'm sure it was going to be a good one, and it was just that. Goals for the Oilers from Gagne, Janmark, McDavid, and Kane. For the Golden Knights, it's Stone, Amadio, Hutton, and Kolesar. This would go to a shootout where Edmonton would win it 5-4. McDavid and Nugent Hopkins with the 2 goals for the guys in orange in the shootout. A pretty good effort all around from both of these teams, but especially from Edmonton. All the Stuart Skinner and Oilers haters in general are going to kind of laugh at the almost choke in the third period, but if you guys go back and watch the highlight pack, neither of these goals Stuart Skinner saw a thing of. I mean, the first one, Adam Ernie with a perfect screen on his own goalie, and then the Keegan Kolesar goal was kind of unbelievable. I mean, there's 2 bodies right in front of Skinner. He can't see the puck at all. The shot, I don't know if it was supposed to be for a tip or not, but it's going a good foot and a half wide. Kolesar just bats the thing out of the air, and you can see Skinner sitting there just over 2 minutes to go in the third, and he's like, you have to be kidding me. Thankfully for him, they'd get the job done in overtime and the shootout, but I can only imagine what Twitter would have looked like after this one if Vegas would have come back and won. But tonight we avoid that situation. It's a 5-4 shootout win for Edmonton, who continues to look good over the last week and a half or so. McDavid also extending his multi-game point streak, with a goal and 2 assists in this one. He was once again very impressive. The Tampa Bay Lightning visiting the Arizona Coyotes, and the Coyotes continue to prove to be a pain in the butt to play against. Some people that bet on the NHL may have been confused as to why the money was pretty even for this game. This is exactly why. The Coyotes team is just grimy, obnoxious to play against, and getting surprisingly strong goaltending from Connor Ingram. He stops 30 of 31 tonight, while Jonas Johansson stops 24 of 27. The goals for the Yotes from Carcone with 2, and Travis Boyd. Braden Point with the lone goal for the Lightning. Just bouncing back to Connor Ingram's stats here. He started 11 games this season. Of those 11 starts, 8 of them have been with a save percentage of .920 or higher. The only games he has not had a .920 or higher are 2 games against Los Angeles, both of which he had kind of shaky efforts. Got yanked in one after giving up 3 on 9 shots. The other one, a 4-1 loss. He gives up 4 on 25. And the third, a 7-5 win against Nashville. He's been unbelievable for them this season and will continue to push for the Vezina Trophy if he continues having numbers like these. The 10th and final game of the night, the Ducks visiting the Vancouver Canucks. A kind of predictable game here. After losing to the Sharks, you generally aren't a happy group, especially if your head coach is Rick Tocchet, and that was exactly the case for the Canucks here. Goals from Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, and then a second for Brock Besser, who's up to 17 on the year, just lighting up the league. Kind of unreal stuff from him. For the Ducks, Ryan Strome with the lone goal. The Ducks were actually the better team through 2 periods here. They had outshot the Canucks like 27-12 through 2. But in the third, the Canucks come out roaring, and they outshoot the Ducks 16-4. So definitely deserved the win in the end, despite struggling through the first 2 periods. Thatcher Demko, once again, fantastic, stopping, I believe, 30 of 31. Another guy trying to throw his hat in the basket for the Vezina Trophy. John Gibson was also pretty good here. He stops 25 of 27. The 28th, of course, on the empty net. So good showing from him once again. A 3-1 final in favor of Vancouver, and that's it for NHL Regular Season Recap Night 48. We'll see you guys tomorrow for 3 games on Night 49.